Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. My name is Rich. If you haven't been to my channel before, welcome. Just trying to get my necklace straightened out here as I bumped the mic. Um, Today is Tarot Talk Tuesday, and I wanted to do the Ace of Swords. Now, I wanted to do where I pop up a picture on the screen. However, OBS is being a butt, so I'm just going to have to hold it while I talk about the Ace of Swords. I am going to do, um, or I'm going to go through every card in the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, the traditional quote unquote Rider-Waite-Smith, or the Smith-Waite, or Pamela Coleman Smith artistry deck. So, however you want to call it, uh, this is the deck that I'm going to go through because this is one of the most, if not the most recognizable decks out there. And I'm going to, like usual, try to do this all in one take. I do have notes over here on my iPad, so if you see me glancing over and if you get the glare on there, that's why. I tried to minimize the glare as much as possible, and I have all my notes and everything written on there. Uh, I actually did this a while ago, but am just now getting around to recording this. Um, Specifically, I did just the Ace of Swords, and I kind of loved going into deep detail on the Ace of Swords, and I know there's much, much further I can go, and I'm only going to touch some of the basics. So first things first is a glance of the whole card. And looking at this card, it looks fairly plain at first. Looking further into it, there are actually many symbols that are included in this card. The most prominent feature in this card is the singular sword, the ace. Only one sword is present. This is a double-edged sword held by a floating hand. There is a crown at the top with branches coming off of it uh, above a mountain range. This looks like a very plain scene, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. So let's start unpacking it. First, you have the sword itself. So the sword is the symbol of intellect and ideas in the tarot. In this card, the sword is the intellect and ideas coming into your life as viewed in reference of time from left to right. So from left to right, it's coming uh, into your life. As viewed, where was I? You can view the colors of blue going from dark to light. This can indicate the coming from darkness into light. The sharp edges of the sword is indicative of the sharpness of intellect and intelligence. So, I don't know if this is going to be a running theme throughout the swords, but the coming of dark into light or having the light edge towards a certain figure. And I kind of want to delve into that symbolism a little bit more whenever it comes to looking at the suit of swords and the intellect that it brings in, or the treachery in some cards that it brings in. The next thing I want to focus on is the crown. On the top and surrounding the tip of the sword is a crown. The color of the crown is yellow, denoting that it is gold. Crowns and gold, traditionally being a symbol of nobility and wealth, is reminiscent of these ideas being something of a noble nature. These ideas are something that may bring you fame and fortune, or it could be something that brings you richer understanding of yourself and your situation. The gold color also represents purity. So these noble and rich thoughts are of a pure nature. Furthermore, the crown symbolizing nobility brings to mind the divine right. This is the thought that the monarchy were chosen by the divine to rule their kingdom. This brings to mind that the noble, pure, and rich thought is brought by the divine. The circle of the crown is perfectly intact, without beginning and without end. This coincides with the eternal knowledge that is available to us. I find it interesting that the type of crown can be seen in the Hierophant card as the crown base. It's the base of the Hierophant card. So if you go back and look at that, it's actually quite interesting to look at that. This connection tells me that as there are more tiers to this crown, this is just the beginning of what else is to come. Within the crown are what appear to be rubies. There are 5 shown on the bottom of the crown, and one on each side, and one on each of the 4 visible points of the crown. So we have 5 down here along the circle, and 1 on each one of the points. I would venture to guess that there is also 1 on the 5th point that's hidden, but saying that it's hidden, we don't know. And I'm actually going to go away from my notes for a second. If there is a 5th one, can I suggest that it is denoting a elemental, or the 5-pointed star, the pentacle, or seeing that it would be encompassed in a circle, the pentagram? So there is that significance. The ruby promotes a clear mind and concentration. These rubies bring power, self-confidence, and determination, as well as propel you towards prosperity and achievement. Since there are only 9 visible rubies, this brings to mind numerology. Having 9 rubies means that this is a completely formed thought, coming to you full of power that will slice through what you currently know to be true. At the top of the crown points are 3 rounded points. The significance of 3 to me is automatically indicative of of 3s that you see in so many religions and philosophies. This can be the biblical trinity, or the pagan form of maiden, mother, crone, or even something such as the id, ego, and superego. The balance of 3s in multiple worldviews is so important to the message of remaining balanced and true, as the sword itself is balanced and upright. This can also mean about being upright and balanced in your thinking as this new idea comes to life. And now I want to talk about the branches. Now we have, hanging off of the crown, to the left is the branch of laurels. So that would be, it would be over here, is a branch of laurels. And on the right is a palm branch. The laurel branch is typically seen in the shape of a wreath. However, in this card, it isn't in a wreath shape. With this being on the left, it could mean a victory that the laurel branch usually means isn't quite achieved yet. On the right, in the future position, is the palm branch, which also symbolizes the victory to come with this new thought. Since there are 5 berries on the laurel branch, and the number 5 dealing with conflict, this to me would mean that from conflicts of the past come the victory of the future. And then we have the yods, these little yellow things right here. Now, this one was difficult for me to understand at the beginning, and I want to do more research on this in the future as well. Underlying the victory symbols are 6 yods. There are 3 in the past position and 3 in the future position of the card. This signifies that during the entire time of this thought process, there are divine blessings bestowed upon you. These blessing symbols are even more empowering as we look at how the sword is being presented. And then we go into the presentation of the sword, the actual hand holding it. In the Ace of Swords, we see the sword being presented to us from a right hand coming out of nowhere. This could be the hand of a higher self, spirit guide, ancestor, or deity, etc. However, it is that it is presenting the sword to you. It brings it from beyond our earthly plane of existence. The right hand is often associated with power and alludes to this being a powerful idea being brought to you. The hand is grasping or wielding the sword rather than presenting it palm out. This can mean that the sword is being brought and forced upon you, so it is probably in your best interest not to ignore it. With the hand coming out of nowhere, it doesn't only mean that this is coming from beyond, but also that it's coming all of the sudden and out of the blue. This is sort of like the thought that pops into your head that doesn't have any reasoning as to why it popped in your head. And where was I? If the thought was already there, the sword can be seen as cutting through the fog of your mind. You know how you get those foggy mind moments? Kind of like that. And then we go on to the mountains down here. The mountains at the bottom of the card are cold and barren. This is symbolic of the cold logic of the thought process. In this situation, us being in the cold mountains and having no idea where to go, we are presented with this divine gift of this idea being presented to us as a way to go forward and into the future. So, overall, what does this mean? So, in the upright meaning, the Ace of Swords brings new thought and clarity coming into your life. It is with the clearing of a foggy mind with divine blessings, which will bring you a victorious way of living. And since I personally like to read in reversals, I also added that in here. In the reverse position, the Ace of Swords is quite literally the exact opposite meaning, at least for me. It is going from clear-mindedness into a foggy mind. The reversed brings confusion, which with it will take the victory and blessings with it. The thoughts are being taken from you and leaving you alone and confused. So it could be that that those situations where your thoughts are just a little bit jumbled, and it gives you something to think about, something to work through. So it's more like, okay, if I get the Ace of Swords in reverse, it's like, okay, I need to think about what I'm not approaching, what ideas I'm not acting upon, something like that. So if you get the Ace of Swords in reversed, maybe that helps you out on thinking of what am I not addressing that is part of my thoughts. In the upright meaning, you have an idea that's coming into your mind or into your life that's going to be starting to go into fruition, and kind of go with that. Kind of start acting upon those thoughts, that thought process. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get it up on the screen. For some reason, it wasn't doing it, and I don't know why, and it was really irritating me. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, hopefully I can get that fixed for next week whenever we are doing the Two of Swords, which, upon first view, let me just say, we have that continuation of where the light and dark is on the swords. So I can't wait to kind of delve into that one a little bit more, including a little part in the Two of Swords that I haven't seen anybody address. So I'm kind of wanting to get the conversation rolling on that, but you'll have to wait until next week to get that one. So let me go ahead and edit this down a little bit, and let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. Thumbs up if you liked it, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I have stuff going on um, here in the future that I haven't quite figured out how I'm doing it, but yeah, there's going to be something that you're going to need to be subscribed for. So go ahead and make sure that you do that, and I will do it at random. So you kind of have to wait until the end of the videos to find out. So until then, tomorrow we are talking about the rosary. So if you haven't used a rosary before, or if you have used them in the past and don't know how they might work in your own witchcraft or Christo-Paganism, in your own paganism in general, maybe tune in tomorrow and see about that with Witchy Wednesdays. So I will see you guys then. Until then, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye bye.